Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Randy Thompson. I'm the Director of Sales Engineers for Exede, and happy to be here to talk about a company I've worked for since it first started. Exede only has one mission, only one business that we're in, and that's helping customers create and manage connected products and then implement new applications or innovative applications on top of that. We have over 150 different customers today. They have over 1 million different assets connected from all continents, including Antarctica. We have some medical equipment down there. And the types of devices that we tend to work with are non-standard things. They are OEM products. Could be everything from ATM machine to a weigh scale at a grocery store to medical instruments, medical imaging, home medical devices, storage arrays, manufacturing equipment. We've got somebody who's doing French fry monitoring equipment and so on. So really any kind of device that's intelligent enough to send data. The value from M2M comes when you bring information in from assets in the field and you make that information available so people can either work more efficiently or make better decisions. So when you see connect, manage, innovate, manage is very much about I've got a connected asset, how do I know how it's doing, how do I service it better, how can I predict what's going to happen next? And then as you move up the value chain, you're starting to inject this information into your enterprise. How can I run my business better, automate things in the back office, and ultimately wrap this back around so I can make the product experience better for my customer. This is a block diagram of the components of the Exede platform. There's about 4.5 million lines of code buried in here somewhere. We won't go through every one of these, but this gives you an idea of just how much capacity there is behind the platform that we have, and nobody uses all of it. But we have this because we worked with so many different companies in so many different industries, and each one of them needed something different. So what was critical for one company was a nice to have somewhere else. But the collection is a really great set of tools to have. Let's talk quickly about how things work. We've got intelligent assets in the field that are sending data up, whether they're using one of our tools to do that or their own protocol. Exede is delivered as a software as a service model, so this data flows up to our cloud. As it comes in, we're storing it off into a database so that we're building this operational life history of the assets that are in the field. So for service, you can go back and see what was happening leading up to an event. We also are passing the data that's coming in by a rules engine. So as data is coming in, we're looking, the rules allow you to look for the snowflakes in the blizzard of information that might be important or that you want to notify somebody about. Rules can also be used to send commands back down to the assets themselves or to the back office. So it's very much about orchestrating the data that you have. Out of the box, we have a set of applications that help people immediately be able to service and manage devices, do software updates, that kind of thing. We have a complete web services interface over the top of the platform so that customers can write their own applications. So you can create very specific and unique user experiences for your various stakeholders, whether they're inside the company, at your customers, partners, wherever. And then ultimately, you also have the option of moving this information into the back office. So we have different choices for how to do integration with these big systems. It could be as simple as automatically creating a ticket in a CRM or a ticketing service management system, or it could be feeding data into these systems of record that you might have in SAP or Oracle. The reverse is also true. As an event happens in the back office system, it can transfer information back out to devices in the field. Here's just a screenshot of one of the service application. We have a concept called an asset dashboard. So when you've drilled in on an asset, you can decide what information you want to show to the users when they're trying to do troubleshooting or management of the asset. Now, building M2M projects is hard. It's too bad, but it is, because it requires a lot of pieces. You've got your asset down at the bottom. That's the thing that's valuable that you care about or your customers care about. You've got an edge device that's converting the real world into signals or messages that you want to monitor. You've got some type of network, whether it's wired Ethernet or whether it's one of the carriers. And then you feed data into a software application that catches these messages, and then you have to convert it into something that's for presentation or for integration. Every project has some elements of those things. Exede recognizes how difficult this is, and we're working really hard with our ecosystem partners to try to make it simpler, to make more of it out of the box. So we have a program called Exede Ready, where we're going out into the market to the different edge device providers, and we're talking to them about either embedding our agent technology into their devices, or we're implementing their native protocols into our platform, so that this is just one less variable you have to worry about as you're putting together a project. We are carrier agnostic. We've done projects with different carriers, but we have a very close relationship with AT&T, and part of that relationship is we have a very good integration to AT&T's service delivery platform, both Jasper and EOD. So it's now possible from the Exede platform to be able to get information from the service delivery layer and bring that in and use it to help manage assets, and vice versa. Based on asset traffic or information coming from an asset, I may decide I want to change the rate plan on that asset. So a lot of different things that can happen, but the idea is to bring two things that were typically very separate and bring them together into one. We have the Exede platform for managing data, storing data, and so on, and then it provides services so that customers can build their own applications. Now, there can be a lot of developer work in this, because we built a very horizontal platform. It has a set of services. You decide how you put the pieces together to create your project or your applications. We have a developer site, developer.exede.com. All the documentation's here. There's a community forum there. You can ask questions. There's articles and code snippets and so on. And there's actually a place where you can register and get access to a live working system. So you can register, get a system, you can try things, actually, we've had some customers prototype applications or do some early proof of concept type work before they even came to us working on the platform itself. And just to show you how consumable this all can be, even though there were a lot of blocks on that chart, back at the beginning of January at the Consumer Electronics Show, AT&T sponsored a hackathon, and the only requirement was that you do something that involved wireless technology. 70 teams entered. They had 26 hours each to build a solution, and there were different categories. The overall grand prize winner, the guy won $10,000 for building an application that was using the Exede platform to do collection of data from a sensor that you put on your head, and then using the Jasper integration to be able to control when phone calls were being made or not to his phone based on his state of mind. So it's pretty cool. And then out of the top 10 finishers in this competition, 3 of them were doing M2M. So 26 hours building a project that worked that you could demonstrate to judges. So let's look at the customer case study. We have a large industrial company. They make engines for power generation, and they wanted to build an integrated asset management system. They had about 20 systems that was collecting data or had data from different machines. They wanted to bring it all into one. And they chose Exede as the platform for doing the data collection from the machines themselves. This is an example. They mapped out their life cycle of the product and all the touch points that their business has with machines that are deployed in the field. And you can see there's a lot of different things that go into servicing complex machinery like this. And the ones that are marked ROI are places where they felt they could get a benefit from getting real-time machine data. Now, underneath the Exede platform, which is doing the data collection, they used a portal technology called JackB to build a set of user interfaces that they could show or present information to their internal and external users. This is an example of a map view showing all the engines that are deployed in Europe. And green means a machine that's operating, red is one that's tripped offline, blue one's standby, that kind of thing. But this map, when it comes up, it pulls the data out of the platform, shows it on the screen. Here's another screenshot of the portal that they built. And in this case, they're bringing together data together from a lot of different sources. You've got real-time machine data, you've got enterprise data about the customer, about their service contract, about where they're located, that kind of thing. They're collecting about 250 readings per engine every 30 seconds. So quite a significant amount of data, especially as you start to multiply this out. We tend to think of scalability in transactions per second rather than actual number of devices, and this is a good example of why. Do the math on that. It can generate a lot of data over time. But now that they have this information, they begin to know what they didn't know, or they have a lot better insight when somebody calls up for us to request service. So let's look at an example where they saw a real immediate ROI. They had a gas engine with 3 megawatts of capacity. This thing is spinning a turbine to make power. They were having a problem with bearing failures. And when a bearing fails, it's a catastrophic event. Immediately, it's an emergency for the service organization. Of course, it's a significant total downtime for the customer. They knew they were collecting this data, and they studied it and wrote rules in the Exede system to look for certain predictors or indicators of potential failure. Once they had that, they couldn't predict a failure was going to happen, but they could start to anticipate them. And by doing that, they were able to convert these emergency conditions into scheduled service events and scheduled downtimes. And the results from that are very dramatic. They estimate in the first 9 months, just on this one use case alone, they saved about $800,000 internally to the service organization. And what I think is really cool about it is they estimate another $1.2 million in downtime savings for their end customers. So quite a significant amount. And the quote from the customer was, "We paid for the whole system on this one use case." So everything else is gravy on top of that. Some of the other ROI highlights, they did this development of both the Exede portion and the JACB portal with about 2.5 FTEs in less than 6 months. Of course, these projects are never done, so they're continuing to work on it. They have 4 people involved now, but that just shows that they were able to demonstrate enough value that the program's getting more resources and more energy. They deployed 3,000 machines in the first 18 months, and the ROI here is all based on the more machines you have connected, the more technician dispatches you can avoid. In the end, it's all about delivering information to the right person inside of the company. Knowing what's going on in the field, how will that change sales, how will it change service, how will it change operations, engineering, so on. There's lots of things that we can learn, and we're really just beginning to see how companies can use this. Here's a couple more examples just to pile on a little bit. Gerber Scientific added sensors to their machines, bring this information back so that they can manage warranty claims and dispute warranty claims. Waters is, when they have an alert from a machine, they're automatically generating a service ticket so that the machine itself is opening a support case. And in Sealed Air, they're doing usage tracking. They're operating on the razor blade model. You give the machine away and you sell the consumables. Well, they like to know that people are using their consumables and that things are matching up. So that's one example. Here's a company that's reinventing their customer experience. They make sterilizer equipment in hospitals. These are giant industrial dishwashers. And, the operators would normally have to walk up to the front of the machine to see what's going on. Well, they built a customer portal so that somebody can see what's going on at the machine from further away. Part of that portal is a standalone page that shows just your machines at that hospital so that people don't have to walk back to the machine. And then best of all, they built an iPhone app so that now when the guy sets the last run of the day, he can go home and then monitor whether the run completed successfully instead of having to sit around and wait for something to happen. So that's a great example of how connected machine data can really change the game. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for your time. I think I pretty closely made my 15 minutes. And we'll be around all week if anybody wants to see an actual demonstration of the product, we'll be able to do that. Thank you.